question. So at this time of year, the evenings are really starting to draw in and Christmas is just around the corner. So I thought I would share a recipe with you that really reminds me of this time of year. So I'm going to be showing you how to make gingerbread cupcakes. Okay, let's get started. So the ingredients to make 12 of my gingerbread cupcakes is, first of all, I've got 7 ounces or 200 grams of brown sugar. I've then got the same amount, so 7 ounces or 200 grams of self-raising flour, and 7 ounces or 200 grams of butter. Now I've also got some ground ginger and some ground cinnamon. Now I'll need 2 teaspoons of ground ginger and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I've got 2 medium eggs and some golden syrup. Now for the golden syrup, I'll be using 2 tablespoons, which is around 40 grams. I will put all of the ingredients and their measurements in the description below so that you can check those out. Now I'm going to be mixing these in my stand mixer, or if you've got a hand mixer then you can go ahead and use that. So I'm going to start by sifting my 200 grams of self-raising flour into my bowl just to make sure there's no lumps. I'm then going to add to that my butter and my brown sugar, my 2 eggs. Now these are just medium-sized eggs. This is just a teaspoon, so I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of my ground ginger and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Lastly, I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of golden syrup. Now I'm going to mix this all together until it's combined into a nice smooth cake mixture. Combined, I'm just going to take that off and just scrape down my bowl to make sure that all those ingredients are nicely combined together, and we're left with this golden brown cake mixture. Now once that is all mixed together, I've just got my cupcake cases which I've just popped in my muffin tray, and we want to fill these up until they're about 1/3 of the way full. Now if you wanted to measure this out, this is around 58 to 59 grams of mixture in each case. So I'm just going to divide this between the 12 cases. Once your mixture has been divided up equally, I'm going to pop this in the oven. Now I've preheated my oven to 180 degrees Celsius, which is 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or gas mark 4. Now you want to leave them in for around 22 to 24 minutes depending on your oven. So I'm going to pop these in so that we can prepare our buttercream, ready to add to these once they've been cooked. Once our cupcakes have come out of the oven, I'm just going to leave these just so they've cooled down so that we can add our buttercream. Okay, so for the buttercream, I've got 400 grams of icing sugar or confectioner's sugar in my bowl, and to that I'm just going to add 200 grams of salted butter. Now whether you use salted or unsalted comes down to personal preference on how you want it to taste, but I personally prefer salted butter. Now you want to make sure that this is real butter and not a spread, so that it will firm up when you pop it in the fridge. And you also want to make sure this is at room temperature. To that I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and lastly 2 tablespoons or 40 grams of golden syrup. Now this recipe, if you have seen my normal buttercream recipe, I am making a slightly bit more, and that's because I will be piping these with the 6B piping tip, and this one just has a slightly larger end than some of the other piping tips, so this will just give me a slightly bit more to pipe my 12 cupcakes. So I'm going to pop this onto my stand mixer and just start mixing this together. Now I am going to mix it for around 5 minutes until it's nice and fluffy and we get that nice buttercream texture. Okay, so once that's been running for around 5 minutes, we're left with this really creamy buttercream mixture. Now I'm just going to be using the Wilton 6B, which is a French tip piping tip. Now when you're ready to pipe your cupcakes, you want to make sure that they have completely cooled so that that buttercream isn't going to melt when it comes into contact with the cakes. I can then bring in my cupcake and I'm just going to pipe a swirl of buttercream on the top. So once all of my gingerbread cupcakes have been piped, I'm going to finish these off with a small gingerbread man made out of fondant. Just got some fondant which I'd coloured in a brown kind of gingerbread colour, and I've got this tiny gingerbread cutout. Now I will put a link in the description below so that you can download this. He's just 1.5 inches in height. Using my craft knife, I'm going to cut out around the edge of my template. Now, if you do have just a small gingerbread cutter, you could use that. You could put his little details on with fondant, but I'm going to go in and just paint them on. Plate, I've just got some white food gel, some pink and some black. Now, you can dilute this down with a small amount of alcohol or just some rejuvenating spirit. I've got a really tiny brush and I'm going to start with my white and just do a nice wiggly line so that it looks like frosting on the top of his head. And then I'm going to do exactly the same just on the side of his hands and across the bottom of his feet. Before I add the black, I've got some dusky pink edible tin and I'm just going to pop a small amount just onto the sides just to give him 2 little cheeks. I can then go in with the black, adding 2 eyes, a really small mouth, with 2 buttons just down his front. Now to finish it off, I'm just going to mix some of that pink with some of that white and just add on a nice pink bow tie. Now you could put one just where I'm putting one here, just under his chin, or you could put one just at the top of the head. So once they're done, we've got some nice little gingerbread to add on to the top of our cupcakes. So here we have the finished gingerbread cupcakes with the gingerbread flavour cake on the bottom, the buttercream gingerbread swirl on the top, and just finished off with the little gingerbread men. Now I really hope you've enjoyed the video and I will enjoy using the recipe to make your own gingerbread cupcakes. Now I will put a list of all the ingredients in the description below so you can go back and refer to that. Now if you do love gingerbread and you want to give gingerbread houses a go, then I'll also put a link in the description below to my Christmas gingerbread house tutorial. So until next time, bye!